Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another round of Mind Your Puckin' Business with your host, Jeffrey Krentzman.
Thank you, Dougie Sticks, coming to you as always from the beautiful studios of Undefeated Media here in Bergen County, New Jersey. This is the Mind Your Pucking Business podcast brought to you by our good friends at the Bamboozled Project, as well as DraftKings. We thank them both for their continued sponsorship of the Mind Your Pucking Business podcast. You can go check out www.thebamboozledproject.com and go on the site, get a bunch of different gear. There are the new Sam Rosen shirts available, and I do know people have texted me or sent DMs that they've ordered them, so they are doing well already. Just do yourself a favor. When you go and you do check out, make sure you use promo code MYPB and save yourself 20% off your entire order. This is episode 165. That would be Ciento Sesenta y Cinco. So we thank you for listening on the Spanish dial today. You can send us your questions at any time to mypbshow@gmail.com, along with DMing us, which is definitely the more popular way to get us if you would like to get us. And you can do that by sending us DMs at Mind Your Puckin' Business on Instagram. You can listen to the show a variety of different ways. You basically can pick your poison, right? Yeah. You can watch the show live on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, and you can comment. We do check them throughout the show. And then you can also stream the show whenever you would like. That would be to your ability on iTunes and Spotify. Mm-hmm. Did I get it all?
Absolutely. Muy bueno.
Bueno.
As Oscar said.
Muy bueno. Yes. We should start today, as we should really any time we're on, particularly this day, and that is 9/11. So just a quick memory, just thinking of 9/11 and definitely is an area or time that you never want to forget. We posted on Instagram before, if we're going to bring together 9/11 and the New York Rangers, the infamous picture of Mark Messier, one of the first games at MSG after the catastrophe, wearing the New York firefighter helmet. So You will see that that picture is up on the site. So everything good with you?
Yeah, as much as it can be. Absolutely. I mean, there's stuff that we'll definitely be talking about towards the end of the show, but
yes, we will get
let's
there.
Get with the preseason first.
Yes, we will get there. So New York Ranger training camp is scheduled to open this week. They did announce, and we put it up on our Instagram story, that the rookie rosters, if you're into that stuff, I really could care less about it, but we put it up, and then some people were upset that Matt Rempe wasn't on it. Well, Matt Rempe should qualify. Honestly, who cares if Matt Rempe's playing in the rookie camp? I could care.
Continues.
I could care less. I mean, if it's your cup of tea that you care that much, that's fine. I'm not necessarily being negative about you for doing it or thinking it, but to me, I don't really care. So that rookie camp will start.
Remsanity continues.
I tell you, man.
So wait, but he's one of your own. You're not going to stick up for him? We're not fighting about if you get more playing time, but he's our guy. You don't think he should get recognized?
I don't. So again with Matt Rempe, right? This is the thing to me with Matt Rempe, right? I don't want to talk about Matt Rempe. I don't want to talk about him. I don't hate him. I just don't want, there's other things to me I would rather deal with than Matt Rempe. Okay. That's all. Okay. And maybe I'm bad for saying that. I don't know.
You're just not part of Remsanity, bro.
He's a fourth liner. Why are we giving this guy so much time? Who cares? Right? It doesn't need to be that much. Anyway, that rookie series stuff will be this week. And that is kind of really where the kickoff is. What we decided to do today is I didn't want to go into, because we're still 4 weeks from the season opener. As a matter of fact, the Rangers will open the real season 4 weeks from today in Pittsburgh. And I didn't want to go into doing the preview stuff for the season because there's a lot of stuff to do. And yes, we can get started now, but 4 weeks out is still is a ways, especially without having training camp even opening yet. So what I decided to do today was to say, hey guys, on the Instagram platform, you guys are very active. You give us content all the time. We interact all the time. That's really cool. what questions do you have? Like, what can we answer for you?
Nice.
We're gonna like open it up to you.
Give the people what they want.
Right. You give us the questions. So yesterday, we put on Instagram, a little embarrassing. Okay. Yesterday, we put on Instagram at like 3:30 a thing on the story. Hey, what questions do you want us to answer? What topics do you want us to go? Whatever. Now, I sat down and I was doing it. I then fell asleep at like 3:45 in the afternoon, which never happens. And I woke up and totally forgot about it. And then like at 9:00 last night, I was like, oh my God, let's hope that people gave us stuff to talk about because we're live in 12 hours or whatever, 13 hours. And thankfully you guys did. You really gave us a ton of content. And we're going to try and take as many of your questions here in the next 20 minutes as I can. And if I didn't get to yours, I apologize. We'll do this again because now we certainly know that you guys want us to answer your stuff as much as hearing what we think you want to hear. And we will be doing that going forward. So let's start. The first things first. And I'm going to put this at the top of the list because we also posted a clip about this. And let me take Travel Master's question real quick. And what time did the show start today? We started a couple minutes early. We generally try to start at 10 o'clock when things are like rolling and we're not watching Tyreek Hill police videos as we just were watching here in the studio. We can sometimes start a little bit early. So you didn't miss much. You're 6 minutes into the show. We haven't even started with the Rangers stuff. We're starting with it now. But we
start at 10-ish.
We start at 10-ish. But if we had if we had our preference, we would start at like 9:45, 9:50 because I always got to get out of here and get to my real job. So the earlier the better. Yeah. So, but today we started a couple minutes early. As a matter of fact, Chris was in the Instagram also commenting on our start time today. So people are impressed. We got to be ready for the season here. All right.
Well, it's funny that Chris is quiet now. He's always hounding us when we're late. Like, give us a thumbs up now, Chris. Come on, bro.
I like Oscar's comment. Tom Coughlin's time. You know, if it's not 10 or 15 minutes early, you're late. He's absolutely correct. All right. So
coaching the game.
We posted a clip last night about it, and it's the Igor question. And the Igor Shesterkin contract might be the biggest storyline left here in what is a short offseason that remains for the Rangers, and really becomes, hey, will the Rangers have Igor signed by opening night in Pittsburgh on October 9th? If you put a gun to my head and said, hey, do you think he's going to be signed? The answer to me is absolutely yes, I do. I would be shocked if he was not signed at this rate. It would be typical Rangers for them to turn around and never not give you any insight it's coming, give you any inclination. One day you're going to see in a couple weeks, maybe when the preseason games are over, the day before, maybe would be my guess, like that Tuesday or that Monday. Oh, guess what? The Rangers have agreed to an extension with Igor Shesterkin for 7 years at $12 million per whatever it may be. I don't think that the Rangers will go into the season starting without having Igor signed beyond the season. I don't find that the right way to go. And I think it would be hard for you to argue to me that the benefits outweigh the negatives if you were to have him be unsigned. I just don't see that. So my thought is he will be signed by opening night. There was a clip last night we put out when Dan Rosen, a senior reporter from NHL.com, was with us in July, which now seems like years ago, by the way. And he said, look, he thinks the one thing that Igor is going to want to be in his contract negotiations is to end up being the highest paid goalie in the NHL. And it's probably would be my guess is what's going to happen.
What is our budget? What's our cap? What's our space? Like,
so that is the good question, or the right question here, because it is not an infinite, right? We're not baseball, and we don't talk baseball where there's no salary cap. So here you have to get everything kind of in. If there was no salary cap, really, here's your decision to make. You know, Igor Shesterkin is easily worth $8 or $9 million and probably more. But as you go higher, right, you find yourself in a situation where you're then precluding yourself with the extra money you're giving Igor to put that money specifically towards other players you will need throughout the course of whatever his contract is, probably 6 or 7 or 8 years. Yes, you want to get him signed for the lowest amount, but you need to also be realistic. A lot of people last night on Instagram were telling us when we posted the clip, well, hey, I think he's going to go out and take a hometown deal and make a discount. He might. But if I'm Igor Shesterkin, he's not entitled to do so. He doesn't have to do that. And he's also earned the right that he doesn't. He also could sit here and say, look, I played my what off here in this playoffs, particularly the last time you saw me out on the ice. You need me. And I'm not going to sit here and give you a hometown discount. And he's entitled to that. But I do think they probably will end up with him being the highest paid goalie in the league. So
I just pulled up highest paid goalies. We got Price with 10.5, Bobrovsky for 10. So like we give him 11 and that's it.
If he would take 11, I think he's going to want more. I really do. And I would love to be wrong. Don't get me wrong on that. But I do think if I'm Igor Shesterkin, and he's also earned that right? Like, he's been that good. So if he wants to come into the negotiations and say, look, my goal here, or his agent says my goal here is to be the highest paid goalie in the NHL, why is he wrong? He's not. He's entitled to that. He's earned it. So
real quick, last dumb question for me. The Rangers have 12.5 million in cap space ahead of next season. So,
but you're signing him. His contract is not for next year. He's already signed. So the cap space for next season, whatever is there available right now, doesn't need to be allocated to his contract for the 2024-2025 season. It's already there. It's already signed for next year.
Gotcha.
It's the years after.
So we can make a real push. We could sign a couple of good people for 1 year.
I don't think you're seeing.
And then you can have a couple 1-year contracts. But I'm just saying, like, where's this money? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're going to handcuff yourself.
Chris brings up a good point, and he's right. It's not necessarily about the number. It's more about the percentage of the cap that his contract embodies. Okay. And that's kind of why if you see me, like, I'm not trying to sit here today and give you a number. Like, I'm not trying to say 11. I'm not trying to say 12. I'm not trying to say 9. I'm trying to kind of like go away from that.
Okay.
It's not necessarily about the number. It's not that the number doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But it's if you're looking at it as like on a grand scheme of a team and you're trying to build a team and you want the team to be as whole as it can be, it's about the percentage against the cap.
So I don't care about the number either. Like how much we're going to give him 50. He's going to be 50% of the team.
He's not going to be 50%. Now, Oscar brings up a really good point, and this has been a debate in the sports world for a while, and this came up a lot in the spring, and that is that $12 million in New York City earns him less than what Bobrovsky takes home at $10 million in Florida. Now, if you look at this on the surface, you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense, right? No, but it does, and that is because of the tax situation and why athletes like A-Rod in baseball, again, not to go back to baseball, when he left Seattle back in the day, he went to the Texas Rangers because it was tax-free. I think it was like a $250 million contract, whatever it was. None of that money because it was a state that didn't have income tax. So it isn't apples to apples. Oscar brings up an excellent point that, his annual value might be more if he's getting 12 million, but at the end of the day, his net results might be less than, let's say, someone else because they're playing in a state that taxes differently.
Yeah.
So we'll take Scud's question. Can't they just give him the best number cap-wise and backload the contract with easy bonuses? It's ridiculous that they're going to possibly handcuff themselves. So the NHL, I believe, and if Chris is watching, he can certainly answer this more than I can. I believe the NHL has cracked down a little bit on what they're saying here, which is that, like the Ilya Kovalchuk contract, I think is the best example of this. Although B-Rock maybe in the corner can tell me if I'm right because he's a Devil fan. Back in the day where you can sign someone to like a 15-year deal and you're backloading the amount per year towards the end, so that you're front loading the deal and it kind of doesn't hurt you against the cap long term as much. And I think the NHL has gotten a little bit stingier with that. I'm sure Chris Drury, if there is a way he can get creative legally that can help the team either on the front end or the back end of the contract, or even better, both, is going to find a way to do that. So, but yeah, I mean, I would think you're going to see Igor signed by opening night. At this point, I'd almost be surprised if you didn't.
So we can't pull up Instagram comments. I see a couple Instagram. If you want to make your comment seen on Facebook or YouTube, but we got someone saying 11.8 would be solid.
So that's 11 million per year. A misstance guy, see it would be 11 years at 8 million would be solid. I would be fine with that if I was going to nitpick with it and tell you the one thing that I wouldn't like about that. I'm more than fine with the 11. 8 is a lot. Like I'd almost, if you look at Igor Shesterkin at 29, that's saying he's 36 and 35, and he's getting 11 a year. I would like, if you could tell me 11 million per 6, I would sign right now. I would do the 11 by 8. I'm not saying that's a problem. But if you want me to say, like, is that a perfect deal? No, but it's not a bad deal either. And it would be a deal that I would think the Rangers would certainly take. Okay, a question that you guys sent yesterday, and this is going to open up a little bit of a debate here with me and someone that I know is watching, is do you think the Rangers will go into the season with the same lines, right? Or the same general idea is? And so here's what you know. Like, that question is not asked, tell me what the fourth line is going to be. Let's talk about the top 2 lines. You have your top 6 was Mika, Kreider, and Roslovic when we last left, right? Roslovic's gone. So which is fine. That's got to change. So somewhere there, it's got to change. Your second line, you have Trocheck centering, Panarin on the left, and Lafreniere on the right. So that line could theoretically, because they are all back for another season, could stay together and play together. Do you break up that line and integrate some of them, I guess, with the top line being Zibanejad and Kreider? If it was me, I am not changing the Trocheck, Lafreniere, and Panarin line. My logic for this is this. They were clearly the best offensive line out there. Now, make sure you listen to what I said, which was that I said offensive. They're not the best defensive line. I know that. So I know when I put this line out on the ice, there could be more of a defensive liability in our own end because this is the line that is out there when I put these 3 people together. However, we all know the quantum leap that Alexis Lafreniere made, right? That is attributed a lot to the players that were on his team, on his line. Okay, clearly that's who he's playing with. We know the type of year that Panarin had. There were people that said he was in the Hart discussion to win the MVP of the league. We also know the type of year that Trocheck had as well. I am not going to break up what is going right there in hopes that I am in turn going to spark something with Mika and Kreider. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to start the season with those 3 together still, Trocheck, Panarin, Lafreniere, and I'm going to assume that front office went out and got Riley Smith specifically to play in the role of being alongside Mika and Kreider. Now, I can sit here and bitch about, there's been 33 people over the course of the last how many seasons that have played with Mika and Kreider, and we still haven't found the answer, obviously. But I'm not going to break up my best line to try and make the 34th person that's going to play their work. I'm not going to do that.
Okay. I forgive me if this is a dumb question, but whatever, we're not going to try out the kid line anymore.
So before we do that, there's a common question. So Gavin on Instagram is saying the same thing as Scud on YouTube. We can pull up Scud's comments. We can pull on YouTube, and that is, call me crazy, but I would put VC with Kreider and Zibanejad for a little while. VC on that line has much better numbers than other guys put with that duo. I'm not opposed to that either, and I'm not. Look, if you go back to a clip that I had 2 or 3 years, I think it was 2 years ago, about Jimmy VC, I'm not really wearing his jersey. I'm not a big fan. I'm fine with that. But I would think that the logic in the front office and the coaching staff is, we got Riley Smith. He's someone who could play on that wing. We're going to start the year with Zibanejad and Kreider, and he's going to play alongside it. Now, again, lines are not ever set in stone. You can change them at any time, right? I mean, you literally could change them on the fly. Look at Gerard Gallant. You can change them in the middle of a game. But if it's me, I'm not going to break up Panarin, Lafreniere, and Trocheck. I'm not.
Makes sense.
Now, Oscar's point, which is a good one and one I was not aware of, and that is that Trocheck and Smith had great chemistry in Florida back in the day too. So maybe the other argument to me against my point is, well, we're going to switch things up, and Trocheck's going to play with Smith, and then maybe Lafreniere goes and plays on that top line. or Panarin, one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see them start the season with that same line with Panarin, Trocheck, and Lafreniere. Again, if it isn't, it's not that it's not broken, don't fix it. But if that's my least broken problem right now to score goals, I don't want to go out there and mess it up.
Mm-hmm.
I would, and look, I'm not someone who loves Riley Smith. David Pagnotta from NHL Network last week was not high on the fact that he thought Riley Smith was going to work playing with Kreider and Zibanejad, but that is my best chance in the beginning to give it a try. There is no one else here that I would go out and try in that spot. Right? I mean, if it's me, that's what I would do. I would keep that line. All right, another question you guys sent. Do you think we see Othmann at some point in the regular season? You'd have to think here the answer is yes. As he continues to get older, or as any of these prospects, even Sikora, Berard, whoever you want to throw in there, the likelihood every season goes up that they're going to come in. You'd have to imagine that if Othmann doesn't show up at any point in this season, to take the question the way it was worded to us.
Mm-hmm.
So the 82-game regular season ends in April, and I'm trying to think of who they play the last game. I can't remember, and it's a home game. So their season ends on the last day of the season. Tampa. Mm-hmm. They play Tampa. They end the season for Tampa. They play Tampa. The season ends. You haven't seen Othmann. We forgot about him, right? My guess would be that would mean that either the season has been going so well with the regular group that they haven't needed him, or nobody got hurt, right? I mean, that would be that's where I think Othmann would come up. And you could pull up Chris's comment because that's exactly what he's thinking as well. Othmann is an injury call-up. I think he will be up. Someone's going to get hurt at some point. Someone's going to need rest. Someone's going to do something the way, So, yes, I do think you'll see Brennan Othmann, but I also think you need to temper your expectations. If you think Brennan Othmann's going to come up here and go on was it Ken Jernander? Am I thinking back right to 1996 when they called it? Was it him that they called up and scored on a bunch of games right away? I could be completely wrong on that. There was someone, and if it wasn't Ken Jernander, it was someone with a G in their last name back in the 90s, which is a weird thing if I'm right on that. But you're not going to see that. So, yeah, I'd like to see Othmann, but at the same time, I'm not going to, I'm not telling you he's the one that's going to play with Mika and Kreider on the top line, because he's certainly not. So, all right. Long-term possibility of Kakko and Chytil, and if not traded. So what is the possibility of them not being traded? And if they are traded, what is the return like that they could fetch? All right, let's take Kakko first. Kaapo Kakko is an example of someone, and obviously this is hindsight's 2020. So none of us knew this, and I certainly didn't know this because you guys all made fun of me last year because I said it was going to be the year of Kaapo Kakko, and I clearly was wrong unless your definition of a year of someone is being a third liner. Kaapo Kakko is an example of someone whose value each and every year has been a steady decline. Mm-hmm. Like here's a great Jenny from the block teaches algebra, pre-algebra, mm-hmm. right? And my daughter is in the same age. Now, I don't know if I'm saying this right. I'll ask her tonight. But Kaapo Kakko, they were talking the other day in the car about slope. Mm-hmm. Remember slope in like algebra? B-Rock, you remember you don't remember it, right? You remember the term. Thank you. Y something.
E equals MC squared.
Yes. So they're talking about slope.
Okay.
And I can never think of a real world example to use slope. I think I just got one. Wow. Kaapo Kakko's slope every year is a steady decline into the negative, right? Yeah. There you go. That's how you use algebra with the Rangers. Okay. Kaapo Kakko's slope and his value has just gone down every single year. Yeah. It's been a steady downhill spiral. You cannot expect to get a lot for Kaapo Kakko. Here's the other telling point as to why that you can't get a lot for Kaapo Kakko, because if you could, if his value out there in the trade market was good, mm-hmm. Chris Drury would have moved him this offseason already, right? There's a reason why mm-hmm. Chris Drury still has him on his roster and has him slotted to be on the third line, because probably the return that he's going to get you from the other 31 general managers in the National Hockey League is a very, very low return. So if you can't get something high for Kaapo Kakko, guess what? That, to answer your question the way it was asked, the long-term possibility of him being here now is higher. If for some reason, another general manager would take him and give you back something you would like, sure, then it works. But if I'm also one of those 31 other general managers, why am I giving up a lot for Kaapo Kakko? I've seen this guy play what now? So 82 games a year. This is his 5th season, 400 games plus playoff games when he wasn't scratched in game 6 in Tampa 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen enough of him to know he's not a special player. He's
Mm-hmm.
not.
Yeah.
And other 31 general managers are a million times smarter than I am. So they know it too. And so your return, if you're going to get anything for Kakko down the line, it's not
The further down the slope he is, the
further
worse.
down the slope. Guess what? A year from now in 2025, the slope will only be down below.
So how like on the slope, do you think he's taking a sled on snow? Is it a red wagon on gravel? Like how fast is
He's
the
going
slope?
pretty slow.
He's going slow?
No, I'm sorry. He's going pretty
fast down that hill.
He's going pretty fast. Now, Chytil is a different story.
Yeah.
Because Philip Chytil, is young when he is healthy. And that is like literally the question, right? That's the whole thing. I'm going to put it in quotes. When he is healthy, which is clearly the minority, Philip Chytil can play. He is talented. If I am another general manager, though, I certainly know my biggest red flag to calling Chris Drury and saying, hey, is Philip Chytil available? Would you move him? We need a center. Is I don't know if the guy's going to be healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And if I am another general manager, I would not trade for Philip Chytil for that. It's way too risky, right? Now, Sidney Crosby, who is obviously the minority example here, but it's what I thought of, was a guy early in his careers, had a lot of injury issues or concussion issues specifically. Oh, how long can he play? What happens if he gets another one? And here we are in 2024, and he's still playing at an elite level. Now, I'm not saying if Philip Chytil is healthy, he's Sidney Crosby. I'm not saying that. I'm only using the comparison of concussion. Hey, it started out being a major problem in the beginning of his career, and then went away. So, Jim Behringer on Instagram, that contract cannot be moved. Has been given the right opportunities. Devils didn't get much for Holtz, and he was drafted 7th overall. Players, timeline, and team lines are never the same. Correct. Yeah. And Jim's point, big keys for the Rangers, giving Kakko a fair look at the top line if you don't think the younger players are ready to play there and can mesh with those top guys. So Kakko's been given time on that top line and hasn't really made the most of his opportunity. And that, this wouldn't be a discussion if he did. If it worked in the top line, then Riley Smith is probably also not here trying to be the 34th person to play alongside Mika and Kreider. So
this is one question that I ask you it's coming to be like almost every week now. Are there players out there that we're targeting that we're trying to get before the season starts?
No. I think the roster you see right now is what you're seeing on opening night. You're not seeing anything different.
No like lingering talks that we want to trade this person for that person. There's no one that we're got a target set on.
Chris brings up a point from when Kakko played there that Kakko and Kreider do not play well together. And I would think just on the fly as the reason why is the speed game is different, right? Kreider's such a speedy player and Kakko's not. Kakko is a very good player along the boards, and Kakko in a third line role is more than fine. But Kakko is not a 2nd overall draft pick where we were all told Kakko or Hughes, whoever they don't take on the other side of the river, is you're going to be fine with whoever they don't take. No, there's definitely a difference. One of them right now is on the NHL cover for NHL 2025, and the other one, the fans are trying to get him out of town for a bag of peanuts. So, all right, next question. 5-on-5 play and what has been done to address it. So the only thing that has been done to address it, because again, the Rangers did not have an active offseason. And NYR KCB, I'm going to get to your question. I have it next up here. Actually, I saw you submitted it and I see you in the chat. I'm going to get you're the next question coming up. 5-on-5 play. So the only thing that they have done, right, to address it is add Riley Smith. So you're going to go into it and say, look, the only thing that can change the results of 5-on-5 is the addition of Riley Smith. Everything else remains the same. So there hasn't been a lot to address it. And a lot of that, again, is the cap situation the Rangers are in. But is Riley Smith going to change the entire complexion of the team's 5-on-5 deficiency? No. At best, right? At best, he slots in the first line. Maybe he does work there, makes it a little bit more productive, being in that group, and makes that line better 5-on-5. 5-on-5 is going to be an issue again this year. And I guess what you hope for is that you can fix it and get a little bit more productive with it and not be as reliant on the special teams, particularly the power play, right? Because, it's one thing with last year. If the Rangers power play didn't work the way it worked, especially at certain spurts in the season, I don't know. So, all right, we're going to take Karen's question, and she submitted it yesterday, as well as is putting it in the chat right now, and it is very, very direct question. It's a question.
Still my question.
Oh, it is your question. You see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that question.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Why?
Right.
Why?
Why? All right. The question is this: why is Jacob Trouba still on the team? Jacob Trouba is still on the team because he has a no movement clause in his contract, and from what we are told, was not very helpful with approving deals to certain teams that might have been open to taking him. Jacob Trouba's wife, Kelly, is in the second or third year of her medical residency or something like that, and he doesn't want to leave New York City where his wife and kid is. I can respect that. I can understand that. However, you are a professional athlete. You're getting paid $8 million a year. He's here because he will not approve a deal to a lot of teams. Also, his contract at $8 million a year, and the year that he had, and Ranger fans specifically remember the postseason he had, even though he was injured. What general manager is going to trade for someone that has $8 million coming off of their books for a guy who played like Jacob Trouba played last season? That's why he is still here. And there are people that, and I saw this posted somewhere the other day, I think it was on something that we posted, actually, unfortunately, because it annoyed me, where someone said something like, I can't wait to go to my first Ranger game so I can boo Jacob Trouba. That will do nothing. That will go to the Garden. Here's what you need to do. Go to the Garden, spend your money, right, on a ticket, and tickets aren't cheap. I know. I have 10 season tickets for every game. I know it's not cheap. Trust me. So you're spending money on your tickets, and you're going to just go there and boo your captain. I don't get it. Do I wish Jacob Trouba was moved in the offseason? I probably would have liked to see him moved, to be fair with you, especially once all that news got out. I felt like he had to be moved because now it's a little awkward. But would I like to see him move? I'm okay with him being here. I would have been okay with him being moved also. I'm kind of indifferent. So
what's the locker room like?
That's going to be the problem. And I heard from some
teammates like him and want him there. Does he feel like no one likes him? He's just sitting there collecting a paycheck.
I don't think it's him versus his teammates. I think it's him versus the front office. And I think that is an absolutely fair question. And there has to be, when you think of how this was played in the media back in the beginning of July, that stuff doesn't get forgotten, right? Clearly. So there has to be some sort of animosity. Chris Drury can say what he said in July when he said, the team loves Jacob Trouba and he thinks the world of him, blah, blah, blah. You can say whatever you want in the public light. Jacob Trouba can say whatever he wants to in the public light. We can see them shake hands in a public light, whatever it may be. But you can't tell me that in the back of Jacob Trouba's head, this just disappears and disappears from management. It's not. And the other thing that is completely bizarre about this, and think about this, this isn't a player that Peter Laviolette and the coaching staff, okay, we had this all happen in the offseason. We'll deal with it. And we'll deal with it as little bit as we can. No, you're dealing with it. It's the captain of your team. It's even worse, right? It's bad enough if this whole thing happens and it's like just a regular player, maybe even an assistant captain. No, this is the one guy on your team that wears a C on his chest and you're dealing with it.
It's crazy.
So I don't know. So ironically, I will be at the first preseason game, which is 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks at home against the Islanders. But you don't know in the preseason, the starters play half of the games, or maybe 2 of the 6. So it's probably 50-50 Trouba plays that night. I almost don't want him to play because if I go there and I like the people next to me are booing Trouba every time he touches the puck, I'm just gonna get really annoyed. Like I'd rather not be there for it. I'd rather. So I don't know. If it's me, I'm letting it go. But that's why Trouba is still on the team. So
Good answer. Good job, Jeff.
All right. So I didn't realize we're at the 35-minute mark already. That's on me. We've really taken a lot of your questions here. Anything else before we flip the dial and go to the other sport? I'll throw it out to you guys on YouTube and all these Instagram comments. Is there any other questions you guys would like us to take real quickly before we go to football? And if not,
best way to do it is live on Facebook and YouTube.
I like Chris's comment there. Trouba's going to lay someone out and people will forget. That is true. You know, like if Jacob Trouba wants to win back the fans that are not in his corner right now,
play good.
Go out and lay someone out like you did the guy in the Calgary game I was at in February with Tyler. Like lay someone out on the ice. Yeah. Or was it Kadri? I think it was. Yeah, you know, like do something like that, and that's how you'll do it. So we took about Mott's Boys on Instagram is Igor getting max money. If you go back and watch the beginning of this episode once it's out there, we spent a good 5 to 10 minutes about the Igor contract. And I look at this. So everyone is saying no football on Instagram, but we put a poll out last week, and we had like 900 votes, and it was 53% yes for football. So, Scrud, I just want to say I hate this Trouba situation. I love the guy. He hasn't played well. He could turn it around, and I have hope for that. That's it right there, right? So if the best scenario now moving forward, because we can't change the past, we can't change the Larry Brooks article and all that stuff, but what we can change going forward is hoping that his ankle is healthy, right? He was injured. As someone just said on Instagram, he lost a chunk of his ankle in the playoffs. That would be, you know, something that would be a factor. He comes back. He has a very good season, a good start to the season, and plays healthy, and it's all forgotten. And unfortunately, it's going to come back again next summer. Like this will be an issue that regardless of how the year goes, because the way Jacob Trouba is constructed, a year from now, it's going to come back again. Well, hey, how do we get rid of this $8 million deal? And probably will be written about in the media and all this stuff. So let's take Oscar's second to last comment. Go ahead.
Second to last comment.
Error after error. The New York Rangers front office has never been on the same page with the team itself. There's always a self-inflicted wound. That's true. The Rangers front office does not have a history of being on the same page with the team. I mean, you could go back to 2 years ago with Gerard Gallant. So that's a very, very fair point. Can Fox play D?
You're going to make the transition right there?
We're going to make the transition. I don't see any other hockey questions. So I'm giving people the opportunity.
Now is your chance. Live. Facebook and YouTube. Bring it on the screen. Do you have any questions? NHL questions. Last chance.
I will say this at 3:00 yesterday before we put that, story up to, hey, what do you guys want us to talk about? I didn't have a lot. So you guys filled in. I mean, the fact we're at the 38-minute mark here and flew through the show, minutes, you guys are really the best. And then your comments are always great. We try to get you all on the show. All right. Switching gears. I'm going to give you the option here. Yeah. Do you want to go do the Giants door first or the Jets door first?
I think the Giants should be done first. The Jets is I think the Giants are going to take a little longer to talk about.
Okay.
I think you should do Giants first.
All right. So yeah. I saw something the other day. But can I say? Hold on. If Chris is still here,
yeah.
He said the other day to me something that Sam Darnold, I'm saying this because you like Sam Darnold from the Jets.
See,
Sam Darnold had a game at MetLife, like they always envisioned he would, but just playing against the Giants. So there's Chris right there.
I got another one for you.
Yes. Let's see if this is where the stat I have.
I forgot. I don't know the exact quote, but it was like Sam Darnold and Danny Dimes have the same amount of touchdowns. Like for Danny Dimes, is on the wrong team.
Mm-hmm.
Touchdown.
Here's the stat you need to know. Since Daniel Jones signed his extension, he has thrown more pick sixes to the other teams than he has owned touchdowns. Yeah. That is amazing.
It's amazing.
You
can't write it.
You can't write it because if you say it to yourself in your head, you think it has to not be true. Yeah. How could something like that be true? It can't be true, but yet it is.
So this might shock you. because in the past I'm very optimistic and like I ride to the end and like we're gonna make the playoffs. I'm gonna shock you right now. I think I'm throwing in the towel week 1. I think I'm done.
You could realistically say
I'm ready for 2026.
Okay.
2025, whatever the next.
You could realistically make the argument that the Giants after 1 week are done.
Yeah.
That was so bad.
Yeah.
Thankfully. Now, I don't know that I would have been if I was home. I don't know that I would have been watching the game, but my daughter had a game, so I was with her thing. But when I was reading the clips and everything, I mean, it was bad.
Yeah. Dude, first off, and we were talking about this yesterday, the jerseys were awful and
Montreal
terrible.
Canadiens.
But here's my point. The jerseys were so terrible that I forgot about them because how bad they played so bad. I forgot about the awful jerseys. You know what I mean? Like it was just so bad. He had plenty of time in the pocket, and I'm optimistic and whatever. But like the Minnesota Vikings, not really the best team, and like you got stomped.
So Scud's point, being a Giants fan sucks. I feel bad for Jones. Got to give him a quarter of the season, and if you can't turn it around, that's it. I don't. You can give him a quarter of the season, but how do you have? But how do you have any? How would anyone have any? And I guess this isn't what you're saying, but how could anybody sit here and say, you know what, Daniel Jones is going to turn it around? Daniel Jones is the quarterback of the future for this team. Like you would have to literally be drunk. Like I don't know what you're standing on in your argument.
There's a great clip. I think it's Tiki Barber. He's saying Caleb Williams, this quarterback, that quarterback, whatever, are doing the same things that Danny Jones is, but the difference is those guys are all rookies and Danny Jones is in his 6th year.
Look, I took a lot of unnecessary flack years ago at MYPB, and it was not a racist thing that I said. I'm going to say it again because it wasn't racist. I don't understand why it was racist. And I said that when the Giants drafted Daniel Jones from Duke, you should know you draft Duke basketball players, not Duke football players. Good athletes that come from Duke that have professional sports career play basketball. There's a ton of them.
Yeah. Name one person besides Danny Jones that played Duke football.
I don't even know anyone that's played Duke football, let alone been in the NFL.
Yeah.
And the Giants took him at 7. All right. Let's change gears to the Jets. We said, you and I, in the summer, on some MYPB show, that the 49ers schedule, the 49ers week 1 was the worst possible start for them.
Yeah.
If you could get past that, and clearly they did not, but once you get past it, because time passes and you get past it, the schedule gets a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't think that and I did watch most of this Monday night. I didn't think that they were. I thought the Jets' run defense was atrocious. Yeah. Like Christian McCaffrey's out, and then this guy Mason runs all over them. It's like, I didn't think the offense was terrible. I didn't think it was great. I think it was terrible. I feel like they play Tennessee now. Then they play the Patriots, the 1-0 Patriots. B-Rock must be thrilled about that. I didn't even talk to him about that.
That was a huge win.
Ruined my Survivor, by the way. I'm out.
Everyone's out.
Yeah, my Survivor pool that I run is down to 8 people now.
Everybody's out.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're back.
Back on the map.
Back to being annoying. So, the Jets schedule gets a lot easier. I wouldn't be concerned. Like if they're a 3.5 point favorite in Tennessee this weekend, they're actually, that game is going to be one of the games that we pick in a minute.
Game of the week.
One of the 5. But I just think that you didn't love what you saw, but you didn't hate it either. You take it and you move on. You weren't going to be 16-0, 17-0.
Well, here's the thing. They had double the amount of plays. They had double the amount of time with the ball. They had double amount of points. They didn't have the ball. We couldn't defensively couldn't stop them on 3rd down. They would just, run right through us. Brock was slicing up the defense. There's guys wide open.
Yeah.
Sauce got pulled for a series. I don't know why. I don't think that came out yet. But why he was subbed out for a little bit. But Brock was slicing up the defense, passing whoever he wanted to when we run. Our offense didn't have a chance to get momentum.
The run defense would be my biggest takeaway there. And I understand the 49ers have a great offensive line, but that shouldn't happen. So they will go to Tennessee this week. In terms of our picks last week, we did something I don't know that we've ever done in years.
Went 5 for 5.
No, we've been 5 for 5. We've been 0 for 5. We were tied for the week. We finished 2-2-1 because one game was a push. Yeah. So we had the Vikings minus 1.5 at the Giants right by a mile. Right. I told you that the Falcons should never be giving that many points to the Steelers, and the Steelers won the game outright. So we had that correct. We pushed on the Broncos +6 at the Seahawks. That was looking like an easy win for us, and then at the end turned and ended up being pushed because the game ended with Seahawks winning by 6. So we tied that, and then we lost the Jets +4.5 at the 49ers, and we lost with the Commanders +3.5 in Tampa. So we finished the week in a tie. So we are 0-1 on the season. It's like I was annoyed that
first time ever.
But you know what? I'm annoyed now that like when we keep track of our record every week, we have to like include
the one.
I
think
the tie.
I think the tie should go to the runner.
Yeah,
we didn't lose your money.
I
didn't lose your money. We can think about it.
I don't know. I didn't love it. Anyway, all right. Here are our week 2 picks. I like the Saints +6.5 at the Cowboys. The Cowboys had a great game at the Browns. Hard to even find any faults in their games. However, you know the Cowboys, it's not always consistent around there. And the Saints did look pretty good last week. 6.5 is a lot. Give me the Saints +6.5 in Dallas. I like Sean Payton and the Broncos +2.5 at home against the Steelers in their home opener. I think the Broncos bounce back. They could have won that game up in Seattle. The Steelers are on the road for the second week in a row. Give me the Broncos +2.5 at home versus Steelers. The Rams +1.5 at the Cardinals. These are 2 0-1 teams, 2 teams that in the NFC West that need to win. And to me, the Rams are the better team here, and they're getting a point. Give me the Rams +1.5 at the Cardinals. I'm taking the Jets -3.5 at Tennessee. Here's my logic here. The Jets are the better team, obviously, but they really need to win. They cannot start out 0-2. Tennessee is not good, losing the other day up in Chicago. Give me the Jets to cover -3.5. The last game I struggled with, I like the Packers +3 at home versus the Colts. This spread is the way it is because Jordan Love got hurt and is out. However, I was not overly impressed with the Colts last week at home, and I do think the Packers have enough other tools at home to make their home opener successful. Plus, I'm getting coverage with a field goal at worst to push. Give me the Packers +3. So to recap, give me the Saints +6.5 at the Cowboys, the Broncos +2.5 at home versus Steelers, the Rams +1 in Arizona, the Jets -3.5 in Tennessee, and the Packers +3 in their home opener at home against the Colts.
Nice.
So
I agree with that.
Anything else on your end, sir?
The Bengals Chiefs game should be interesting.
Bengals Chiefs game should be.
If they get crushed again, Bengals are in big trouble.
Bengals. Well, the Bengals could go 0-2, but yeah, Baltimore in that division is already 0-1. Well, yeah, I mean, look, you don't want to go. Oh, what a disaster! You know, the other thing with Survivor, obviously, since he was by far the biggest pick, the other one, and as a matter of fact, my wife had him. Jenny had Buffalo, and Buffalo was losing. Buffalo was down 17-3. I mean, my whole pool was going to be wiped out. And the worst possible thing that could happen as a Survivor pool owner is if everyone lost in the same day, you'd have to refund everyone. Jeez. Right? I mean, that would take forever. Or you would maybe just, I don't know, do a second pool, I guess. I don't know. But like part of me was sitting there looking at the scores. I'm like, how could Buffalo and Cincy both lose? And I didn't see any of the Patriot game to tell you what happened. I have no idea, but clearly unimpressive. That is it for us today. We thank the Bamboozle Project, as always, for their sponsorship. Check them out at thebamboozleproject.com. Use promo code MYPB. Save yourself 20% off your
brand new shirts.
Your brand new shirts. The Win It for Sam shirts, which will be coming up on Instagram this week. We thank DraftKings as well for their sponsorship. And you can send us your questions at any time to mypbshow@gmail.com. Or, as you can see today, we do take your questions on Instagram. We do take them in the live chat. We try to bring you all in, make this very interactive, make this very conversational, if you will. We thank you guys for listening to us. Once we are back on next week, and I think, are we Wednesday again next week?
I think you can go any day you like.
Okay. I would probably will be Wednesday would be my guess. Seems to be working. We have a lot of people that have been watching on Wednesdays. We'll probably stick with it.
Maybe you're going to get some TS mileage.
that might be part of the decision also. But when we are in next week, you will have had training camp in full gear, and you'll be actually at that point just 4 days away from the preseason opener that Sunday up in Boston. Have a great week, everyone. We will talk to you soon.